December 19th, 1944. It looks 35 hours. Crinkled Rocherath sector, Belgian Ardennes. 500 German soldiers are about to crush 18 Americans. That's what the plan says. That's what the numbers say. And for a few seconds, it looks like that's exactly what's going to happen. The snow is falling hard, thick, blinding sheets driven sideways by a brutal winter wind. The forest ahead is barely visible through the white haze. Then it moves. Dark shapes begin to form between the trees. 1, 10, 50, then hundreds. German infantry, wrapped in white camouflage, rifles ready. Machine guns dragged forward, spreading out like a wave that should not be stopped. 18 American soldiers watch it happen in silence. No reinforcements, no backup line, no retreat. Just a thin strip of frozen ground. And them. Staff Sergeant William Carter lowers his binoculars slowly. His face is calm, but his eyes lock onto the advancing mass. They're not scouting, he says quietly. They're coming to break through. Behind him is a narrow road buried under snow, one of the key routes in the Ardennes. If the Germans take it, armor follows. Then supply trucks. Then an entire offensive punches through the American line. This isn't just a fight. It's a doorway, and these 18 men are standing in it. Private First Class Daniel Reeves tightens his grip on the Browning automatic rifle. The cold bites through his gloves, metal freezing against his skin. How long we hold, he asks. Carter doesn't hesitate until they stop. The first shot cracks. Sharp. Clean. Final. A German soldier drops forward into the snow. For half a second, everything freezes. Then the battlefield explodes. M1 Garands fire in rapid rhythm, echoing through the forest. German MG-42 machine guns answer instantly, an overwhelming roar. Bullets shredding through trees, dirt and air with terrifying speed. The snow erupts around the American line. Private Lewis Hargrove flinches as splinters blast past his face. He fires back, barely seeing his target. "They're everywhere!" he shouts. And he's right. The German force surges forward, splitting into assault groups, using trees for cover, trying to surround, trying to crush the line with sheer numbers. 500 men should overwhelm 18 in minutes, but something goes wrong. The Americans don't break. They don't even fall back. They lock in. Carter's voice cuts through the chaos. "Reeves, left side. Sweep it!" Reeves rises just enough to fire. The bar thunders, sending controlled bursts into a cluster of advancing Germans. 2 fall instantly. Another dives into the snow, scrambling for cover. On the right, Corporal Jenkins fires with cold precision. Aim. Fire, reload, repeat. No wasted motion. No panic. Every man knows exactly where to look, exactly where to shoot. Their fields of fire overlap perfectly. There is no gap. A German squad charges the center, 10 men pushing fast, low, confident. They don't make it halfway. Crossfire tears into them from multiple angles. Bodies collapse in the snow, momentum gone in seconds. The survivors drop and crawl back, confusion creeping in. It doesn't make sense. 500 men! Stopped? Carter sees it, the hesitation, the tiny crack forming in the attack. "Keep firing!" he shouts. Don't let them think. Grenades arc through the air. One explodes short, harmless. Another lands in the middle of a German cluster. The blast throws snow and bodies upward in a violent burst. The line falters again. Behind the trees, German officers scream orders. Whistles blow. Machine guns reposition, trying to pin the Americans down. But the terrain is against them. The forest breaks their formation. The snow slows their advance. Their numbers can't hit all at once. Instead of a hammer, they've become a funnel. And at the narrow end, 18 Americans are waiting. Reeves reloads, his fingers numb, breath sharp and fast. "They should have overrun us already." Carter glances at him. "They thought we'd run." Another wave forms, larger, more coordinated. Machine guns lay suppressive fire while assault teams move forward in bursts. 50 meters, 40, 30. Now it's close enough to see faces. Cold. Focused. Determined. The Germans are committing everything. So are the Americans. Rifles crack again. The bar roars. A Thompson submachine gun rattles from the flank, cutting down a group trying to slip through the trees. Smoke mixes with falling snow. The air smells like metal and fire. A German soldier reaches 20 meters, raises his rifle. A single shot drops him instantly. Jenkins lowers his Garand. Not today. The attack stalls. Again. 500 men. Held. Not by luck. Not by chance. But by something far more dangerous. Control. Discipline. and the absolute refusal to give an inch. As bodies lie scattered across the white battlefield, a realization begins to settle into the German ranks. This won't be quick. This won't be easy. And these 18 Americans are not breaking. December 19th, 1944. 7:50 hours. The same frozen line outside crinkled Rocherath. The battlefield has changed. The snow is no longer clean. It's torn apart, churned into mud, ice, and dark stains that spread wider with every passing minute. Smoke drifts low between the trees, mixing with the fog of breath and gunpowder. And still, the Americans are there. 18 men, still holding, but now the Germans are done testing. They're adapting. Behind the tree line, German officers regroup their forces with sharp urgency. The earlier waves, too scattered, too rushed, have failed. This time they organize with precision. Machine guns are repositioned. Mortars are brought forward. Assault teams are restructured into tighter units. This next attack won't be a wave. It will be a coordinated break. Staff Sergeant Carter senses it immediately. The sudden pause in gunfire isn't relief, it's warning. They're resetting, he says, scanning the tree line. Next one's different. Private Reeves swallows hard, rechecking his ammunition. Less than half remains. How many more like that we got in us? He asks. Carter doesn't answer, because the truth is, they don't have more. They only have this. A distant thump echoes through the forest. Then another. Mortars. Down! Carter shouts. The first shell lands behind the American line. Snow and dirt erupt upward. The second lands closer, too close. The shockwave slams into the foxholes, rattling bones, stealing breath. More rounds follow. The forest explodes into chaos. Trees splinter. Snow lifts into the... Reeves rises into the storm. The bar erupts in controlled fury, cutting through the advancing line. One German drops, then another, but this time the others don't stop. They keep coming. On the right flank, Jenkins fires, misses, corrects, fires again. A German falls, but two more take his place instantly. The pressure is building. The system is breaking. For the first time, the Americans are being forced back into their own positions. A German squad reaches the edge of the tree line, just meters from the foxholes. One throws a grenade. It lands inside the American line. Grenade! The explosion rips through the position, sending dirt and debris flying. Reeves is thrown sideways, ears ringing, vision blurred. For a moment, the line is silent. This is it. This is where it collapses. German soldiers surge forward, sensing the break. Boots pound through the snow. Rifles come up. Close range. Final. But then, a single shot fires. Then another. Then a burst. Reeves, half covered in snow and dirt, drags himself back up. His hands shake, but the bar is still there. Still loaded. Still firing. He pulls the trigger. The weapon roars back to life. At point-blank range, the advancing Germans are hit hard, too hard. The momentum shatters. The charge breaks just meters from the line. On the left, Hargrove rises from his foxhole. Blood on his sleeve, firing wildly but effectively, forcing another group to dive for cover. Carter stands now, fully exposed, shouting over the chaos. "Hold the line! Hold it!" Something shifts. Not in the Americans. In the Germans. For over 40 minutes, they've attacked with overwhelming numbers. They've used machine guns, mortars, coordinated tactics. And still, 18 men are here. Still firing, still holding. The certainty begins to crack. Orders become louder, more desperate. Another push is attempted, but it's weaker now. Less confident, less unified. The machine is losing rhythm. Carter sees it instantly. "They're breaking!" he shouts. "Keep firing!" And the Americans do. Every shot now isn't just defense, it's pressure. Relentless, precise, unyielding. The German advance slows, then stalls, then, unthinkably, it begins to fall back. One soldier retreats, then another. Then entire groups pull away toward the tree line, dragging wounded, abandoning the push. The forest that once poured out 500 attackers now swallows them back. Silence returns slowly, broken only by wind. Breathing, and the distant retreat of an army that should have won. 18 Americans remain in their positions, exhausted, shaking, but alive. Carter looks out over the torn battlefield, bodies scattered across the snow, weapons abandoned where they fell. 500 men had come to break this line. They failed, not because they lacked strength, not because they lacked numbers, but because they met something they didn't expect. A line that refused to collapse. And in that moment, in the freezing forests of Belgium, a simple truth was proven under fire. Numbers don't win battles. Control does. December 19th, 1944. 8:20 hours. Crinkled Rosherath sector. The gunfire is gone. What remains is the aftermath. Smoke drifts low across the shattered tree line, mixing with the cold morning air. The snow, once untouched, is now churned into a broken field of footprints, shell craters and dark shapes that no longer move. 18 Americans are still here, some sitting, some standing, some simply staring forward, rifles resting across their knees. No cheering, no celebration, just silence. Staff Sergeant Carter walks slowly along the line, checking each man. His boots crunch over frozen ground, passing overturned equipment, spent casings, and the marks of where the line almost broke, but didn't. "How many?" he asks quietly. Corporal Jenkins answers without looking up. "2 wounded, no KA." Carter nods once, then looks forward again. 500 came through that forest, and they left it behind. But the real question isn't what happened. It's why. Because on paper, this fight should not exist. 500 trained German infantry, many of them veterans of years of war, attacking a position held by just 18 American soldiers. More guns, more men, more experience, more momentum. And yet, they failed. Not slowly, not eventually. They failed right here, in under an hour. The answer begins with something invisible: control. From the first shot, the Americans dictated the fight. They didn't spread out. They didn't chase. They didn't panic. Every man stayed inside a system, fields of fire overlapping, sectors locked, movements controlled. It turned 18 individuals into something much larger, a machine. Each rifle wasn't just firing randomly. It was covering a specific angle. Each movement wasn't reaction. It was discipline. When the Germans advanced, they didn't hit 18 separate targets. They hit one unified line, and that changed everything, because numbers only matter when they can be used. And here, they couldn't. The terrain took the second piece. The Ardennes forest wasn't open ground. It was tight, broken, restricted. Trees limited visibility. Snow slowed movement. Units couldn't spread out or maneuver freely. Instead of attacking with 500 at once, they were forced into smaller groups. Wave after wave funneled directly into overlapping American fire. It was never 500 versus 18. It was 10 versus 18, then 20 versus 18, then 30, again and again. And every time, the result was the same. The third factor was timing. The Germans attacked fast, but not all at once. Initial waves came in scattered, probing. That hesitation gave the Americans time to understand the pattern, time to adjust, time to lock in. By the time the coordinated assault came, with mortars and machine gun, suppression, it was already too late. The system was set, the line was stable, and breaking it would require more than pressure. It would require collapse. But that never came. Because the fourth and most important factor was the men themselves. 18 soldiers who refused to react like 18. No one ran. No one abandoned position. Even when grenades landed inside their line, even when mortar fire shook the ground beneath them, even when German soldiers came within meters, they held. Not because they weren't afraid, but because they understood something simple. If they broke, everything behind them would fall with them. That road behind their position wasn't just ground. It was access. It was movement. It was the next step in a much larger offensive, and they were the only thing stopping it. So they didn't think about 500. They didn't think about survival. They focused on the next shot, the next reload, the next target. And that focus broke the attack, because on the other side, the Germans expected collapse. They expected fear. They expected numbers to win. When it didn't happen, confusion started, then hesitation, then fragmentation. And once that began, the attack was already lost, because an offensive without momentum is just movement without purpose. Carter stops at the edge of the line, looking out one last time at the forest. It's quiet now, empty, as if nothing ever came from it. But the ground tells the truth. 500 men tried to break through here, and 18 said no, not with speeches, not with heroics, but with discipline, position, and absolute control under pressure. Behind them, the road remains untouched. No tanks roll through it, no columns advance. The breakthrough never comes, because it ended here, in the snow, in the trees, at a line that refused to disappear. Carter exhales slowly, the cold air visible in front of him. Then he turns back to his men. "Stay sharp," he says. Because even after everything, the war isn't over. But this moment, this impossible stand, is already decided, and it will never be forgotten.